Hi, and welcome to SheQuest Podcast, a radio show that will help you not only claim your awareness around the concept of power, body, beauty, voice, and the arts of your life, but truly embody it. I'm your host, Estelle Thompson. You are here to widen your lens on the unfiltered and uncurated conversation we have in my SheQuest membership program. And best yet, you'll get real life, tangible tools to stay real and true to you. Each season, we will interview incredible, knowledgeable guests, and you'll educate and uplift as we strive to live whole and not perfect. Welcome. Hi, SheQuest. Welcome to SheQuest Podcast with guests. I'm your host, Estelle Thompson. Today, the big finale of season 4, I have for you Rachel Sunters, or also known as Arsenice. With ethereal strings, warm acoustics, and alternative progressions, singer-songwriter Arsenice writes soothing songs about messy love and mental states. Inspired by all pop artists like Sylvan Esso and Radiohead, with the piano-driven styling of Root B and Cœur de Pirate, Arsenice embraces and reworks the pop genre with a prowess that bespeaks a lifelong study of music. In her live shows, Arsenice uses tracks, loop beats, harmonic vocal effects, and layered keyboard to create a dreamy orchestral production, taking audiences into her vulnerable, psychoanalytical world. A regular performer at piano bars and listening venues, Arsenice has released 2 EPs and is currently co-producing singles and an LP from her home studio in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And on a personal note, Rachel was the musician that played at my She show way back 3 years ago, and I had this vision to have her on, and I've been kind of girl fanning over her for years now. And I found myself in a conversation where I could see and hear that she is a creativity geek like me. And the conversation took many unexpected tangent, beautiful, that showed that both in her music and in her life, Rachel has this great capability to show vulnerability and let that be a permission for herself and for the world. So it's a beautiful, beautiful note to end the podcast on. There is tons of surprises coming for next season. I'm keeping them wrapped for now, but SheQuest Podcast is not over. We are not over. We are just beginning. I love you. Happy listening. On the show here, we always ask the first question, and it is, what makes you feel alive today?
Physically, a headache makes me feel
No.
I don't know why. I've had headaches for the last couple of days, but that's the physical awareness that I'm alive. I'm preparing for a show on Sunday, and I just bought some new musical equipment for my live show, and that's always really exciting. So I just got back from the music store and have some new keyboards to open up, so I'm really excited about that.
What? New toys? I can never have too many toys. I totally get it. Amazing. And so I want, okay, I kind of know you, and I was just saying off mic there how I was like, wait, maybe I don't know Rachel that much, but I would love it if you just tell us about yourself, like where you grew up, and our theme. I wanted to bring you in just to talk about how art can really just awaken us and heal us in a way. And so how how you got where you got.
My stage name is Arsenice, and my name is Rachel Sunter, and I grew up in Ottawa, and in Australia a little bit when I was a kid. I come from a bilingual household. My mom is Parisian and my dad is from Australia. Very musical family. I grew up with a music room in the house with lots of instruments in it. My mom played piano, my dad played trumpet. Everyone in the family sang and played music in some way.
You like a musical, like musical video family.
But I just like grew up thinking that everyone was like that. I thought that all
Wow.
families sang all the time. All like everyone played instruments. That was just normal because that's all that I knew.
Wow.
I thought every house had a music room in it. I thought that was normal. Because music was so normal for me, I actually did not, I didn't consider myself to be a musician. I didn't identify
Mm.
as a musician until my 20s, maybe, even though I played and competed and performed my whole life. I thought that everyone studied music and that was just part of being a well rounded person. And I didn't see myself as being the best. And I thought, well, if I'm not the best piano player in my whole school, because I think I was probably like second best. There was always one girl who was better than me in all the schools. And because she was always better than me, I was
That
like,
bitch.
I was like, I was like, well, my perception is that it's really hard to be a professional artist. You know, we always hear this. I had boomer parents who even though they loved music and played music, they didn't see it as a serious source of income. And I was a straight A student who was constantly being told by adults that I could do whatever I wanted, be whatever I wanted. So there was a lot of pressure on me to pick the right thing or something, and music was just never even a possibility in my mind. So I started professionally playing when I was 21. I moved out east for university. I went to King's and I studied philosophy and English. I'm a big bookworm. I love writing. I love language. I have always been drawn to language. And then on the side, I was still making a lot of music, and I joined my first band because the band leader lived in the same house as me one year. So I didn't play for anyone. I only played alone in my room, or I would play classical music sometimes at university at formal meals. They had a piano in the hall, so they would let me play there. But that was it. Anything like pop or modern, I kept very much to myself behind closed doors. But my roommate could hear me playing through the doors, so he knew that I was a player. So he asked me to join his band, and I had never done anything like that. And I thought, I went in with a lot of ego. I thought, well, I'm way more technically trained than any of these guys, and this is going to be so easy. And I don't know if I'm going to like this kind of music. I was pretty snobby about a lot of kinds of music because I came so intensely from a classical and jazz background. And anyways, on my first practice, I immediately realized that all of my technical training did not did not translate into the ability to play with other people and to improvise and to jam. That's the word you use in
Wow.
music. Jamming means no music in front of you, playing at the same time as other people, improvising, maybe in a song that you know, but doing it in a new way. Anyways, I had never done that in my life. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, how? So I felt superior, but it didn't even matter. All my technical skills meant nothing because I couldn't figure out what notes to play next, and I couldn't keep track of the chords in my head the way that they could.
That's so interesting, and I love that, like, that differentiation, it's like the technical versus the intuitive and the brave and the
Yeah,
unknown in a way. And also, can we just mention how cool it is that your roommate was like the band leader? How did you end up like it's as if the universe was like,
that was his first band too. It was so weird. Like he asked me to be in his band a year later. We just ran into each other in the street when we were drunk on Argyle Street, like the bar street. And I literally ran into him. And I remember that moment so clearly because it changed my whole life, right? That we ran into each other. And in passing, while walking, he said, "Rachel, I'm starting a band. Do you want to join my band?" And I was like, okay. And now I'm sitting here in my music studio with all this gear around me, and my whole life is music. And it's all because of that moment.
Wow. I just got to pause here because there are, I think for anyone listening, I think there are these moments that like when they happen, you think nothing of, and like looking back, you're like, oh my God, that was the moment.
Yeah.
That was like the moment. Like I don't know if you knew this, but like I had a friend, she came in my house. That was like, I think my son was like 3 months old, and I was like in creative hiding, like I would paint, but like nobody knew I painted, like not even my close friends, but all my paintings were like in my house. So like this girl, she comes and she was going to take pictures of us, and she looks at me like her eyes were all open, and she's like, who's the artist? Like looking at all these paintings on my wall. I was like, oh yeah, like that's just me. And she looks at me and she says, Rachel, she says, like, you can sell those, right? And not kidding. Like that night I was bouncing my baby, and I was on the WordPress and did my first like one-page like website. Like I had been outed,
Yes.
Yeah.
It just takes one person to tell you that you're good enough. You're like, oh,
yeah. So great. I love that. So how long ago was that? Was that like 10 years?
That was 12 years ago.
Wow.
I know. So I stayed in that band. So that band of, random guys from the Valley who knew each other from university, that band ends up doing really well, for a starter indie band. And I stayed with that band for 7 years in total, and toured in the States a couple times, toured back and forth to Central Canada many times, got to play some huge festivals, and just got to know a lot of the Canadian music industry on the eastern side. And then through that, of course, started making the connections and started sharing my own songs that I was writing. I remember the first time I played that I showed one of my songs, Fox and Hen was the first. It was on my first EP, but that song I shared it with my bandmates once at a music conference, just in a hotel room. There was a piano set up, and they asked to see one of my songs. They heard that I was going to start recording. But yeah, I played that song for them, and that was a real moment of being like, oh, I can go solo.
I love that song, by the way. Like I'm totally like fangirling on you.
Yes.
I love it. I play your songs like I like in yoga like all the time.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, and the new one, like change is coming, a change is coming.
You like that one? Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with that song.
That song is so Chic West. Oh my God, so Chic
Yeah.
West. So, would you say like when you were like, okay, I can do this solo, like that was like 5, 6 years, 7 years later? How long?
So that was 7 years. Yeah, after that. So that was 5 years ago.
And then you just went like on your own.
Well, I was doing both for a year. I was playing in the band and I was doing my solo thing, but there was a lot of friction between me and the band leader. Definitely too many cooks in the kitchen situation. The more confidence I gained in my own ability to write and conceptualize things, the more I started to resent this secondary role I was in the band. And I was very much in a secondary role. I was never a part of business decisions, financial situations, creative undertakings, other than as an unplayed session player. Basically, I never made a penny in that band. and was expected to just follow orders all the time. But because the band was doing well, for a long time I didn't see it that way. For a long time I was like, wow, I'm getting taken on this ride for free, and all I have to do is play these songs and they're so easy and this is great. And I loved, like, dressing like a musician and being up on stage and like starting to be a cool girl in Halifax, like all of that. I was so starstruck by the whole musician life because it wasn't something I had ever aspired to. It just suddenly happened, and I was like, whoa, it's so cool. But yeah, when I started making my own music, I quickly outgrew that and was like, okay, I want to have a hand in creating this, and I want to be learning when things are happening. And that immediately was like a big change in role for me, and where I'd been in the band for so long, it wasn't a very welcome change, I think. Which just makes sense. That I think that happens in a lot of bands when people start their own projects, dynamics shift, egos get in the way.
How much you grew in that, like, you got to learn the kind of improv music side, and then it seemed you also grew as like, okay, this is what I want, this is what I don't want.
Oh, definitely. It was an invaluable experience. I learned so many things. And being a side player for that long has given me a lot of respect for side players. Like I'm a very conscious leader and employer when I do have bandmates, whether it's for one gig or for a tour or an album or whatever, because I still identify so much as having been in that position for so long. So I believe in paying people fairly at all times. I believe in transparency about business decisions. I believe that everyone gets a vote. And these are things that I learned because I experienced the flip side of that.
That's right. Because you were in those shoes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, so cool. It's so great to get to know you more. I didn't even know you were from Ottawa, and I knew you had like because you speak French, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. When do you think, like, you woke up? Like, I know you had that moment with your roommate there, but when did you wake up to like your own self-expression? Like, would you say was in your family, like when you were a little girl, or like?
My mom was a very creative person. She was always surrounding us with crafts. Like, we had a huge craft cupboard and a little craft table, and every holiday and event was always a reason to do crafts, and family visiting was another reason to do crafts. Having friends over, another reason to do crafts. So it was like painting and cutting and pasting, like everything I did was always so creative. And I really think that came from my mom always providing us with craft supplies and encouraging that. So
I'm so jealous. Why didn't I grow up in your house?
That being said, so yeah, I grew up with always having creativity be a part of my life. That's not to say I didn't develop creative blocks, because everyone develops creative blocks, and we all have these moments throughout our childhood and teen years that can be very formative, where we develop these inner rules of what is art and what is not art, and what is creativity and what is not creativity. Like those kinds of rules, I still had to identify and deconstruct a lot of my own issues when I started my solo project. That's when I was really alone and I was in complete control. My first EP was so satisfying for me to make because I really had complete creative control. I was in a long-term relationship with Alex Mead, who produced the album and played a lot of the instruments, and he was my bandmate too. And because we lived together and were romantically involved while we made the project, my creativity was very unhindered with him. Like, he was very patient. We could revisit things over and over again until we felt that they were perfect. It was only later in my career that I started to have issues because I was paying people a lot more to work with them. So time was a lot more valuable and mistakes were a lot more costly. And then I started to feel really encumbered by the financial realities of being an artist.
Those realities are really real, aren't they?
Some of them are, and a lot of them are in your head.
Yeah.
Amazing art can be made at little to no cost.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, I think financial barriers are actually opportunities for greater creativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because creativity can solve problems, and
Totally.
you can end up with results that are really unique because you had a financial barrier. And I think a lot of great songs have happened that way. But it took, I had to study creativity very consciously for a year or two in order to get to where I am now, where I feel a lot more unblocked, a lot more non-judgmental.
So tell me, what did you learn?
Well, I did.
'Cause you know I'm a like creativity like junkie, right?
Yeah, yeah. So have you read The Artist's Way?
Yes, and oh, that was like my OG. Like, I might have, because remember I went to that workshop with you and Bridie.
Yes.
Did we? I don't know. Maybe I'm like confusing it with somebody else, but did we talk? Or maybe it was like in one of our shares where at that workshop I was sharing. I was gifted this book
Yeah.
by a voice teacher in 1999. Can you imagine that?
Right.
And it was like, it was like the first time somebody told me, like, your art practice is like your spiritual practice. And like my mind was blown. And I was like, thank you, Julia Cameron. Like, yeah.
No, absolutely. That book is just essential. It's
Yeah.
so essential. Anytime I'm talking to anyone artistic now who has any kinds of barriers in their mind or outside their mind, I'm like,
Yeah.
start with that book because it gets you to. I mean, for listeners who don't know what it is, The Artist's Way is a guide to unblocking your inner creative being. And
Yeah.
it's founded on this idea that our highest gift as humans is our ability to create something out of nothing, right? To make something new.
Yeah.
From a biological standpoint, because it uses our ample prefrontal cortex, right? And other animals don't have access to that. And then from a spiritual sense, I mean, it's really something kind of magical that we can make something out of nothing, that we can hear a song out of thin air and then materialize it. And then other people can hear it and be moved by it. It's totally crazy to me when you think about it.
Oh, I know. Same. For those of you who know me, know that I am obsessed with flowers, but also essential oils. I was flipping out, so excited when I came aware of Lightwater Essential Oil Blend Company right here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. The bottle is so pretty, and there's so many ways to use each blend. From the energetics of chakra work, meditation, or daily uses in headache relief, deeper sleep support, or to tap into a creative space. There's so much to explore and a blend for everyone. My current faves are the Create and Power Blend, but my house will definitely smell of winter woods during the holidays. Lightwater is offering the Chic West community a whopping 20% discount on all regular priced items. Go to Instagram or their website, lightwatereo.ca. That's lightwatereo.ca, and use SHE at checkout for a 20% discount. Again, that's capital CHE to explore these blends yourself. Happy holidays! How do songs come to you? Like, how do songs like find you? Is there like, do you have like a specific process, or they just are you dream about them, or?
I don't have a process. No, they definitely just start. They just start in my head, and by they start in my head, I mean everyone has experienced having a song stuck in their head before, right? So I'll suddenly tune into whatever songs in my head, and a lot of the time be like, wait, what song is that? And I'm like, oh, that's no song. I'm like making that up, and it's been playing it on a loop for an hour, and I've never heard that before.
Whoa!
And that's the moment, that's the door opening of like, oh, there's a song waiting to be written right now. I've got to get to my instrument immediately because it's not going to be there forever. It'll probably only be there for maybe 5 minutes or an hour, or maybe even a couple days. In
Yeah.
some cases, I've had a song that I've written but never played play in my head for years. And anytime I try to think about it, I can't remember it. But like every time I'm in a certain situation, I'm like, oh yeah, it's that song again.
Yeah. Well, I'm so this stuff like fascinates me so much. And as I'm mentioning to you, I've had a lot of singers on the podcast lately, and I think I can like something that's come back over and over again. It's like when a song comes or when a lyric comes, like just grab it and go, like don't, like just go
Yeah.
off you go, and it's like it might not be there tomorrow.
There's another book that makes me think of, which is Big Magic by Elizabeth
Yeah.
Gilbert. And
Yeah.
that book, the main takeaway, there's a couple great takeaways from that book, but the main takeaway from that one that I really stay with is this spiritual belief that ideas, an idea meaning like an invention or an artistic creation, that ideas float around the universe and then they choose a human brain and they inhabit that brain. And sometimes they inhabit other brains around the world at the same time, but when an idea inhabits your brain, it's there and suddenly you can hear it or you can see it and it's perfectly clear and you feel like you didn't make it. You feel like it just appeared there. And her idea is that um, ideas inhabit your brain for a certain amount of time and then they leave it. And once they leave it, it's gone and it's gone forever. But the catch is that the idea is gone from your brain, but it's still out there in the universe, and it might go inhabit someone else's brain because ideas want to be manifested. So they'll inhabit a brain and then they'll jump ship and inhabit another brain, and they'll inhabit brains until someone has the skills and the discipline to manifest it.
Oh, I love this so much.
Work for it that everyone can relate to. I mean, I can relate to it, which is that I've I've made up excuses to not write a song before that I was really passionate about at some time. Maybe I wrote it in a journal, but I didn't record it. Or maybe I demoed it, but I never showed anyone. And then a year or two later, I hear a huge song on the radio, and it's like the same lyrics, same
What?
melody. And I'm like, oh my God, I missed the boat. That was my song.
Wow. Like, I'm wondering if other musicians experience that.
Oh yeah, other musicians have experienced that for sure. Definitely, you'll be like, "Damn it, I totally had that chord progression. I knew." But like now, if I release it, it's gonna sound like I'm ripping that other person off. But I know that I thought of it first.
Fuck.
So, but the reason this whole spiritual belief, what the real takeaway from it is that Elizabeth Gilbert talks about is that it's essential to have your creative tools in an accessible place so that the moment that inspiration inhabits you, you are able to manifest that idea before it leaves your brain without barriers. So that was the moment that I started to realize I needed to get more organized in my life. I needed to be able to press a couple buttons and be able to record that quickly. Because even having multiple steps is enough to deter your unconscious mind from manifesting an idea. It's enough to be like, oh, I'll put it off. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow you wake up and the song's gone.
Do it now.
Yes.
Sing it now. Write it now.
Yeah. Demo it immediately.
Yeah. Why is it so important for you to make music? And I know you teach music too now. Why is it so important to you now?
I have a very selfish relationship to music. And when it becomes less selfish, I lose my motivation. So I
Mhm.
have to struggle to keep it selfish, which
Mhm.
is that um, I am committed to only making music that I like, that I love, that I want to listen to. I don't want to release a song that I don't want to hear. And I have released songs that I didn't want to hear. I've learned that the hard way. I've been like, wow, all that work, all that time, all that money, all that everything. And, but because I was even 20% or 40% trying to please a certain audience that was not me, then I resent the project afterwards because I'm just,
This
oh.
speaks to me so much. This speaks to me so much. But I feel because that's happened to me too, where like, you feel so kind of exhausted almost after, but almost it's like a pull back, like because you went so far away from
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that you said that word selfish because I love that word.
Yeah,
That like you're like back. Okay, I've been so far away. Now I'm bringing myself back to like what I love, and like you're almost less apologetic for anything. You're just
yeah.
like more like fierce. Like your eyes are like, okay, enough. You know.
Well, I'm a really strong believer that um, the more dedicated you are to 100% your vision of things, uh, the more authentic your art will be. Like people will perceive it as authentic because authenticity is definitely something that is perceived and often imitated, I think. But real authentic art comes from doing something that sounds right to you, or looks right to you. And that's it. Something that brings you pleasure or something that makes you cry. That's all that really matters. And if that means that your market becomes a niche market now and your art becomes esoteric to a bunch of people, that's okay. Because those niche people who like your art love your art enough to make up for all the people who don't. Do you know what I mean? Like they will be willing to pay for it. They will play it on repeat. And I would so much rather have a niche market of people who love what I love than have a mass market of people who love things that I don't care about.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. 1,000%. And like at the end of the day, like that's what lights you up anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a like a fine line, because at some point, and that's happened to me just through painting, like almost like it's so easy to fall into like painting what people, what people would love, like painting like Amazon jungles or like this and that. Like, oh yeah, like that's going to be like so mainstream. And it's like, but I don't want to be mainstream. Like,
Yeah.
like why would I want to, like, I want to be like small and peculiar and like,
If you're a basic bitch and you want to make basic art, go for it. Rock it. Own that.
yeah,
That is fine. And you will love your basic audience and you can go do basic stuff together. It'd be perfect. But
yeah.
if your audience is people that you wouldn't actually want to hang out with and couldn't have conversations with, like that's a shitty place to be in as an artist. So then you've got to go up there and fake yourself to people.
And that's the worst.
That's the worst.
Oh my God, Rachel, I love this conversation. Like, I think it's so fresh and so, like, I feel it's not talked about a lot. And I know as like my progression, like as I evolve, as a yoga teacher too, and as an artist, like time and time again, I almost like come at these like little crossover. Like, it's like, okay, like what's my vision again? Like what do I want out of this? Like it's so easy. And now with like, just social media and all this, it's like, wait, like what do I want? Like who am I?
Oh, I know. I know.
And I think this is something I really love about you. And like I follow you on social media and like just love, like I love how you come on sometimes and you're just so real. Like I forget, but like fuck, it's so refreshing because you're like, I forget what you did. And pardon me if I like butcher this, but like you like came on like live, like, just live and you're like, I feel really lonely right now. Like you come on, I was like, fuck, finally, somebody that's like freaking real and like unfiltered and just
Yeah,
like, oh, like that moved me so much, And I think do you remember that?
I do. I was in my car. I was crying in my car.
Yes.
Totally.
It was so refreshing. I was like, finally.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I feel like a duty to be authentic. And it's funny, because I've definitely had a couple people in my life be like come to me privately. After that post specifically, I had someone come to me, someone who close to me come and just be like, you don't need to tell people everything. And it was such a like subtly shaming moment of being like, well, what's wrong with telling people everything? Like, and I had to really think about it, be like, what was happening there? Why did they feel the need to tell me something so obvious? Because most people would not put a video of themselves crying on Instagram. So saying that I don't need to share everything is obvious. Most people don't share everything. And to me, I'm like, I'm doing something exceptional. I'm just being real, because I know that when you see someone to put down their armor, it makes it safe for you to put down your armor, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes from. It's just that that in all vulnerable interactions, someone has to go first.
Yeah.
And I feel like as an artist, you have this platform to give people permission to feel things and permission to say things. So I try to check myself very regularly to make sure, like, okay, am I really saying what I mean? Am I really showing how I feel, or am I buying into some kind of superficial fad? Because it's so easy to do that, and I do that, and I catch myself on it, and I have to be like, okay, like what. I do have to constantly check myself there, but a lot of artists don't feel that way, and I do not think that that's how you need to be. That's just part of what motivates me
Mm-hmm.
as arsoniste, is that I think that that's one of my purposes.
Oh, I just love that so much, like your purpose and like that word permission too. I think as
Mhm.
artists, like even through songs, like, your songs, like for me anyway, they give me, Rachel, I'm going to start to cry, but like
I
seriously,
know,
like
I'm empathetic.
like given words for things that I didn't even know, I was like feeling. I feel your songs like really do that. And like
Yeah.
to go back to that moment and like, I mean, it's like, I love that you said that somebody too, like close to you said that, because that's happened to me too.
Mm.
And it's hard because like, of course, like out of like 500 like good things you've gotten from this thing, like, and I think it was your birthday too. Like I really felt for you, seriously. Like, and it was a beautiful show of like humanity. And one of my, and I've studied grief a lot and I speak publicly about grief. And like one of my teacher, he always says, grief is an energy. It's just waiting to be witnessed. And like, I really felt at that moment, it was like this beautiful gift you were like giving us of like, okay, like, I see you, you see me in this, like, just this humanity, and whoever, like all the people that, or anyways, for me that they're like, why do you have to do that? Like, you don't have to be public about it. And it's like, no, but that's on you. Like, like that's about you. That's not even about me right now. Like if you're, you know what I mean? Like almost like,
Well, and the thing is, I know that the only people in my life, also just to clarify for listeners, what the post was I was, I was sitting in my car in my driveway and I was crying, and I just did a video telling my followers how I was feeling. And yeah, I forgot it was my birthday. That makes sense. It was my birthday weekend, and there were just a few things that had happened in my life that had led to this kind of isolated situation. This is before COVID, so it wasn't a COVID thing. It was the year before that. But the only people in my life who subtly or directly gave me crap for that post are definitely people that I know when they are in pain, they don't reach out to anyone. So that's not a coincidence. My act of not only reaching out to one or two people, but reaching out to hundreds of people with that kind of pain was probably so alien to someone who has a hard time calling even one person when they're crying. That probably was a lot. So I didn't take it personally. I had to realize that it was just like, vulnerability is like that. It makes people extremely uncomfortable if they're not ready for it.
I remember and too, like how clear you were, like you were really clear, like everything that came out of your mouth, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it wasn't about attention, like it was about like, this is just how shit is right now. And I'm going to share that with you. And like, for me, that's such, like the way you gave yourself to us even allowed me to be like, having it land in my bones. Like it's a beautiful gift. And I think, and sometimes too, I'm like, I'm so glad I feel a lot. And like, I'm so glad I feel things so intensely.
Oh yeah, I'm such a feeler too. I know, and it comes with its pains, does it ever?
Yes. But like talking about feeling, like how do you like maybe kind of coming back on track with like our theme there? But I want to know, like, is there a way you like surrender, like get in the creative, like kind of get in the flow if you're about to like create a song, or do you have seasons where you write a lot of songs, or like what's your process with that?
Well, it's a funny time for you to ask me that, because I'm so deep in production mode right now that I've been having a hard time giving myself permission to write new songs. I posted in a subreddit forum on songwriting recently about this, because I was like, I don't think I have writer's block, because I consider myself to be a pretty unblocked artist, very consciously. I've worked on this. I was like, I don't have trouble finishing my songs. I don't have trouble starting them. It's that lately I've been trying really hard to release my songs. And like, when I say finish, I don't mean finish writing them. I mean finish mixing and mastering them and promoting them and getting them out. That has been such a challenge for me. So there's not much of a writing process going on these days, and hasn't been for months. So to answer your question, I think that writing is very much a compulsion for me. I don't have to I never set aside time to write. And if I ever have tried to, it's been unsuccessful. No, truly. The closest thing to a practice that I would have in songwriting would be, and I learned this because I did a writer's retreat at the Banff Center, at the Banff Arts Center a year and a half ago. Amazing program. It was open to artists from Canada and the States and the UK, and there were about 24 to 30 of us. And you had 3 weeks, and you had your own private studio with your own custom list of any instruments you wanted, plus a world-class grand piano in every studio, plus practice rooms full of instruments, plus an on-call sound technician, a video team, and then writing workshops and performance opportunities that were all optional. Everything was optional. You got to this crazy center and they're like, here's your meal card, here's your bougie little hotel room, and here's your studio space. And if you need anything, here's the people you talk to. Was insane. I never had anything like that in my life. And that was the first time that I would have experienced what felt like writer's block. Because it was like, here's everything you need. And that created a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It created so much pressure. And there was a competitive aspect too, because during meals and stuff, you'd be sitting at this table with all these other songwriters and overhearing conversations about everything everyone was making. And it was just like, oh no, this is really not good. So I needed to chill out, and I needed to take the pressure off. Um, so that was a combination of making time to go hang out in other musician spaces and drink a little bourbon with them late at night and just play some music together. Like that was really important to relax and take the pressure off making things. And also listening to the music that you love is the most important thing for me in terms of keeping my creative process going. When in doubt, I always put on Radiohead, always, because that for me, and everyone has those bands, that for me is just like lyrically and production wise and chord wise, it's the highest thing that I would ever aspire to, would be making something so beautiful. So the art that makes you feel that sense of awe and that sense of familiarity and like, oh, these are my people, this is my song, that feeling. I always have to go back to that music. And if I ever get too swept up in trying to please people or trying to be something I'm not, then I put on my favorite artists alone with really good headphones, really good speakers, and just love it. And don't stress about what I'm making anymore. Don't stress about who I am. Just enjoy that. And from that love, then the ideas come forth.
Stop it. I'm just going to cry right now. But it is, just love the things you love, that's what I repeat all the time in my creative, like, what is it you love? Like, just love the things you love. And like, that's basically like your purpose in life. It's like,
what you love is what makes you you. That's what makes you unique. I talk to artists sometimes who are stuck because they're so overwhelmed by, they know what they want to sound like on the end, but they don't know how to get there. But then when I ask what the end result is, the end result that they give me is really more about other people's opinions than it is about what they're creating. Those are the people who get stuck, and they can be so skilled and have amazing taste, but they're stuck because they're like, I know that I want to make something that impresses the following people. I know that I want to make something that even I can't criticize, as opposed to, I want to make something that makes me feel good, or I want to make something that reminds me of the sadness of this particular event. Because these goals are so much more attainable than I want to make something that's as cool as this person.
And I just want to go back to, before I forget my thought, but like, thank you for, like, I remember, like, I love your pictures that summer you went to Banff, and it's like, I love you, like, totally painted the picture for us. And I love you said, like, it's something that's coming up back in the conversation, like, about how constraints for creative juices are actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and then when you have like this whole, I don't know, when you have like the perfect situation, you're like, oh, fuck. Like, oh no, like what's, like, now it's like the pressure. It's like that's kind of like the worst. It's just funny because you were talking earlier about that financially too.
Pressure is good and bad for art. It really depends on your emotional state, I think.
So is that what you would like recommend if somebody came to you, Rachel? And I remember in your voice workshop, you were speaking of your students a lot, which some of the stories I still remember, like this little girl, even you were like, the little girls were like holding their stomach, and and you kept being like, no, like singing starts from like, anyways. And there's totally something that shifted for me, because I realized like I always like I always suck in my belly, like always.
Mhm.
And it's like, and I was like, I still do it. Like, and I'm a freaking yoga teacher. Like, you think I know better.
Mhm.
But it's like, and I remember you were like, oh my God, it's like totally like almost an instinct now. But anyway, sorry, I went on a tangent there. But is that what you recommend to your young like students to like listen to the music they love? And like, if somebody would come up to you and be like how can I connect with my deeper like
Oh man.
self-expression and creativity, and like let it out. Let your belly out.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely advice I give to older people, who are in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, because uh, younger generations right now, they connect with their music that they like effortlessly in ways that we weren't able to because we didn't have unlimited free streaming. The kids
Yeah.
that come to me have such niche tastes. It's amazing. I have one student who's a huge K-pop nerd. That's all she listens to is K-pop. She's like 11 or 12. Have another girl who listens to what I listen to. I listen to indie alternative stuff from 2005. That's what she's into. I'm like, what? You were 12. Why are you into this? And
But
so she's one of my like secret music connections because when I'm like, so yeah, what have you been listening to lately? And this 12-year-old is like, oh, this band, and I'm just like, oh my god, this band is everything. This is literally inspiring my next album. So I think younger people are amazing at that just because of the access that they have, that they can
yeah.
privately listen to whatever they want now. They don't have to ask their parents for money to go buy a CD. They can just find what they want. They can customize their own playlists. But for older people, yeah, that's definitely a tip I give a lot is to listen to or watch or look at whatever art just makes you feel great.
Do you have like any kind of your own favorite tools like for self growth, but anything like we've been talking about creativity a lot, like
Mhm.
is there anything you do like soul rituals? I mean, I know you do yoga, but is there anything specific that you seem to go back to?
Yes. Yeah. Over the years, I've definitely honed my self practice, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it is a trifecta of seated meditation, positive affirmations, metta practice, which is
Mm.
loving kindness meditation.
Hey, so in case you didn't know already, my name is Estelle, and I'm a Quebec born, Nova Scotia living yoga teacher, creative mentor, visual artist, author, and grief activist. You can visit my work and offerings at estellethompson.com. That's ESTELLETHOMSOM.com. And subscribe if you like this conversation and it's helping you, it has an impact on your life. Please subscribe, give Chic West Podcast a 5-star review, and the best thing you can do is just take it a screenshot as you're listening to it and post it on your Facebook or Instagram story, and it just really helps me get some traction, momentum, and share with others. What you love, what you're listening to, and it's helping you because it might just help someone else. Thanks so much. Bye. Merci. Mwah.
For me, that whole practice takes half an hour. I do at half an hour minimum, basically, is what I have to set aside, ideally, each day for the rest of my life. That will be the case. And for me, that half hour is like medicine for me. It
Mm.
totally changes my personality. And when I stop doing it within a matter of days, I start to see consequences. So the seated meditation um, is essential because it strengthens the part of your brain that is aware of what you are thinking. So without that, I think all other self practices are not going to be very effective because you're not going to notice that you're not using them.
Yeah.
So meditation is fundamental, I think, in any kind of self-care or change, just because it strengthens your ability to know what's even going on in your brain, throughout the day. But if I just do meditation, because I've tried to eliminate each one of this trifecta over time out of laziness or busyness, and I need all three. So meditation does that. Metta practice is loving kindness meditation. So that's where I have come up with 5 phrases that I say. The metta practice takes only a few minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. You say the 5 phrases to yourself and then to somebody else. So someone who evokes compassion from you effortlessly, someone you love. And then you practice saying them, and it's all in your head mentally. But when you say them, so for example, my first line is, may you be happy. So I would say, Rachel, may you be happy. And when I say it, I have to actually envision myself outside myself and going over to Rachel and maybe putting a hand on her head, or maybe holding her, or maybe holding her hand and saying that and meaning it. May you be happy. And then I have 4 more phrases, and you come up with the phrases that mean something to you. And then then you say to someone you love, and then you practice mentally saying it to someone you don't feel empathy for, or you're struggling with empathy with. And that one alone is a reason that your mind often avoids doing this practice, because you don't want to sit down and say, may you be happy to someone that you're like, fuck that bitch. Like, have to imagine really sitting down and being like, it's not real. It's just a practice. Just imagine saying, may you be happy. And if you struggle with it a lot, it's suggested that you imagine saying it to their 3-year-old self, right? Their 3-year-old self who hadn't done all those awful things yet, who was just an innocent human who would go through life experiences that you don't understand, right? And you're like, right, okay, may you be happy.
I do metta practice at Costco. All the time.
Right. Right.
But it's true, like there's a meme, I forget, I posted it a few years ago, but it's like, you want, like, let's say you're out and about or whatever, and something's like really getting on your nerves, you're not going to like throw down a warrior 2, but you can say to yourself, like, may this person be like, okay, like almost like sending them, love, like you have the power to do that, to
Yes.
switch it off. Yeah. It's really, really great. So you have the meta. What's the third one?
Positive affirmations.
Yes.
So positive affirmations, and I update the list once every month or 2. I have a running document on my computer so that I have logs of all the previous affirmations, which has been really helpful over the 2 years or so that I've been doing this. The idea of a positive affirmation is that you can target a negative thought that you repeatedly have. So the first step to creating your positive affirmations list is that you need to actually make a physical note of the negative thoughts that you've noticed repeat in your brain. Maybe they always come up in a certain situation. For me, one of my first ones was that every time I lost something, I used to become hysterical. Not around other people, but alone. If I lost my keys, I would just lose my shit. I'd start crying, freaking out, going around the house, become way later for something. And because I was so upset, it would make it harder for me to find the thing, right?
Yeah.
And that came from weird early childhood stuff where one of my parents used to get really upset when I lost something. So I had some weird kind of like trauma responses there, and I internalized that anger and that shame and that fear. So that was something I wanted to change, as an example. So you just find something that your brain does that you realize is not effective and that you wish you could rewrite the script for. And your positive affirmation is designed to rewrite that script. So you find a phrase that targets that thought or that behavior. And for me, the thought was, stupid girl. That's what it would say in my head when I lost something. And it's like I'm in my 30s and here I am losing my keys or can't find my coffee mug or something. And right away it's like, stupid girl. And of course I'm going to feel really shameful now and defensive and upset because my brain's saying that to me. The positive affirmation has to be worded positively, meaning it can't be, I'm not stupid. It's not very effective for your unconscious mind. It has to be positively phrased. So you find a phrase that's the opposite. And I was like, okay, well, the opposite is I am smart. And I was just like, I am smart really just sounds dumb to me because it sounds insubstantial. And that's important. If you think that a thought is insubstantial, then you need to word it so that it has substance. So for me, my positive affirmation became, I read books and ask questions. And I repeated that to myself. I think that was part of my daily circuit for many months. And I don't take a positive affirmation off of my list until I can read it and immediately recognize how that has impacted my behavior over the course of a couple days. If I'm like, oh yeah, I literally yesterday lost something and felt fine because I thought that, that's when you get rid of it. But anyways, you keep it and you repeat it once a day. You repeat it out loud and you envision yourself. You envision a version of yourself who would behave if she believed that. And that's a really important part because it's daily role playing. You're sitting down there, okay, I'm going to envision losing my keys on the way out the door. And now I'm going to immediately envision a version of me who didn't worry if she was stupid. A version of me who had complete confidence in the fact that I research things and I ask questions and therefore I'm definitely intelligent. How would she act if she lost her keys? Well, she'd probably laugh at herself, text the person she was going to be late, and start calmly retracing her steps, right? And if once a day you are targeting very specific behaviors that you have with a phrase and visualizing how that could possibly change you tomorrow, eventually you find yourself in circumstances and it's incredible. You suddenly act differently than you've ever acted in your whole life. Yeah. Because of these sentences. So I keep my list under 12 positive affirmations at a time because it starts to become too much when you get over that. So yeah, 20 minutes meditation, 5 minutes meta, and then 5 minutes positive affirmations. Yeah, it's all under half an hour, but those three things together, the meta makes me softer to myself and to other people, which is so important. I'm type A, I'm controlling, I'm emotional. So I have all the preconditions to be a bitch, totally do. And with meta meditation, I do. With meta meditation, it just allows me to be nicer to myself and also to recognize when other people are bitches to me. My gut response, if I've been practicing meta, is actually that I feel for them. I'm like, oh, they throw anger at me, and immediately I see, oh wow, they're feeling anger at themselves right now. And I can instantly depersonalize something. But if I fall off the track and stop doing meta, then it's just like, boom, someone's mean to me. And my gut response is anger. How dare they be mean to me, Instead of, oh, wow, I wonder what kind of a day they've had. I hope they have a better day tomorrow.
I love it. I teach a program. It's called Anatomy of the Yogi's Heart. And one of the I call them like gates or pathways is metta. And it's really just loving kindness. And I have a meditation and a yoga class around it. And you've said it so well, like it softens you, like the metta part really, even in Sanskrit, like it literally like makes you more compassionate for the world around you, and in that way like more compassionate to yourself, but not just compassionate, like almost like the ultimate compassion, when you can be like what you just said about like, this person is mean to me because this person is like deeply hurting inside. Like how amazing it is that you can switch that off,
it's crazy. I feel that it's tested. I'm tested in that
Yeah.
constantly. Yeah. And I've had to develop, I think, strong boundaries around people that I realize are deeply unempathetic because
Mhm.
it is infectious. If you
Yeah.
spend time with compassionate people, you feel more compassionate. And if you spend time with harder, judgmental people who have inner pain, you start to behave more like that too. It becomes even more difficult to practice compassion if you are around someone's energy who is so readily not practicing compassion. And I don't know if everyone feels that way. I feel that way. I feel so sensitive to it, and I have very limited capacity now to spend time with people who are really mean, whether they're mean to themselves or they're mean to other people. It's the same energy now, and I've kind of tested myself over the last couple years since I started this practice and started being like, oh wait, I don't want to be mean to myself anymore. I don't want to be mean to other people anymore, even if I'm in a bad mood, you know. And then I started noticing people around my life who didn't feel that way and had to really be like, oh, am I being all fucking high and mighty spiritual now by being like, this person's bad energy isn't good for me, they're toxic? Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be superior because I'm like, I practice compassion and I am more compassionate than you.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
But when people are deeply unempathetic, I do believe it's infectious, and I think that you need to recognize that and be very careful around those people, even if they're not mean to you. They're simply mean to other people. That
Yeah.
energy is infectious.
Well, and also like I've talked about this before, but just I feel it's like it's a responsibility. Like once you know, like there's like aliveness inside you and spark inside you. Like it's like what you put out in the world. Like that's your responsibility. Like even like I just we're also interconnected. You can either like lift people up or you can bring them down the hole with you. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's just like, it's really powerful, like the meta practice and the affirmations, because, and also the muscle that you've built around it. And that I love that you made them up yourself, like they
Yeah.
are your own affirmations. And I love the example that you use about the keys because I feel
I,
sometimes like I love it because it's so simple and I don't know. I don't want to generalize, but I feel it's all happened to us. Like I've lost my keys and gone bonkers, but like for you to be like, no, this is like a deep wound,
it was a
like this
deep
little
wound. It truly was. It was like, boom, I'm
thing.
4 years old. I left my lunchbox on the bus. My mom's yelling at me. Oh my God, and it's just like, wow, I'm 33. Do I really have to keep replaying this stupid memory? But
But
it's just
I
neural pathways. That's how the brain works. It's a well-worn groove. It's played me that memory like 1,000 times. Why would it stop now?
yes, and Rachel, like I don't know about you, but like I sometimes like things even from high school, like little things sometimes like I don't know, like some things that have happened in high school, let's say, and like now I'm almost 40 and I'm like, no, I shouldn't think this way. Like it shouldn't matter, but it still does. Like it still hurt. Like I can't think of an example right now, but like
Mhm.
things, I just want to point that out where like this situation of you, like, freaking out over your keys, you could have totally be like, brush that off like oh it's just like a little thing, it's like a little thing about me, like that's what happens. But no, like once you start questioning, you're like, no, actually, like that's a big hurt, like
That singular thought, stupid girl, it happened if I lost things. It also happened if I was clumsy. I started to realize it was just my brain's auto response to human error. It was
yeah,
so crazy for me to live that way.
yeah,
If I like broke a glass, like I would break down and bawl on the floor, and I was an adult. I was like, what is going on? I don't want to be this person. And I think for a long time, the I don't want to be this person would then trickle into resenting my parents and
yeah,
resenting my upbringing, which was just more anger, right? And I don't want to say self-pity, because I think self-pity is a stupid term, because it has such a negative connotation. But I would just spiral when I had any human error. I would spiral, and the spiral would always lead me to the same place, which was this deep belief that my brain was written by other people, and now I just have to deal with it. This is just, my brain is always going to tell me I'm stupid when I do this stuff. And it's all because someone else called me stupid. And now I just have to live with this pain for my whole life. Like, that sucks. And reading the science behind positive affirmations and realizing that I have the power through a simple 5-minute practice to rewrite the script of my own brain was so deeply empowering. It means that any time that I really fuck up in life, I can look at it once I'm calm and be like, okay, what thought processes here contributed to you losing control? Are there any thoughts that maybe you haven't targeted yet? What was going on there? So that next time this thing happens, because you cannot control disasters and mistakes happening in life. Like, next time it happens, what thoughts would make it a lot more tolerable? What thoughts would ease my suffering? And I should start practicing them now.
Rewriting the script of your life. So I'm curious now, what does happen when you lose your keys?
Well, if I've been practicing my efforts, I lost my keys earlier in Long and McQuaid. Yeah. Well, I didn't have that heightened emotional reaction. I've done a lot of work. It did take many months of that particular affirmation for me to see results. But when I say many months, I mean like 3 or 4 months after a lifetime of always having this deeply emotional response. And I don't have the same gut emotional reaction now. I'm kind of like, okay, all right, keys are lost. Where are they? Which is so much more effective.
Oh my goodness, I could talk to you all afternoon, I think. I just love this conversation so much. I want to ask you something that I've always wanted to ask you, and then I want to go into like little rapid fire questions. But I want to know, and I feel I should know this, but I don't. But where does the arsoniste come from?
Arsoniste. Well, I had a few prerequisites in my name, but in short, arsoniste is a pun on my name, Rachel Sunter. So it's R from Rachel and Sun from Sunter. So arsoniste was how I made it. I kept drawing on the page capital R SUN, being like arson, and I was like, I don't want my name to be arson. That sounds so masculine and bad. And then I was like, well, how do I make it feminine? And then arsoniste was a feminine play on my name.
Cool. I didn't know that. I thought maybe you wanted to be the first in the phone book with an A.
No, but it's nice to be the first on lists of artists that shows. That definitely was not something that I thought of.
I know. No, I love it. All right. I have some last little questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. We've talked a little bit about this, but do you have a favorite mantra? You work with a lot of them.
Yes. Don't be jealous, be inspired. Because when jealous, competitive, comparative thoughts come up, which is frequently, I just have to catch them and be like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. Great. Right. If someone from Halifax just achieved a dream I've always wanted to achieve, this should be good news. This should be good news that it's possible, not make me feel small because I didn't do it first.
Yeah.
And then my response to the person can be, hey, that's so inspiring. Thank you for inspiring me, instead of like trying to hide my jealousy.
I know, like letting them be almost like expanders for you instead of like being like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so yeah, totally get it. How about a favorite flower?
I love peonies and roses.
Mm. And a favorite book you've read on the creative path? I know you mentioned The
Yeah.
Artist's Way and Big Magic. Is there another one, maybe?
No, those are my two.
Yeah, those are pretty great.
My two Bibles. The what I would throw in would be Tara Brach is a psychotherapist and Buddhist teacher, and she specializes in self-compassion work. But I think that her work has been very central to that inner softening for me. So anything by
Mm,
Tara Brach is amazing. She does guided meditations and has written some books.
so great. I think that's going to be the title of our podcast, Inner Softening. It's so beautiful.
Mhm.
I love it. How about favorite show on Netflix?
Well, I watch a lot of anime. um, I'm currently almost done Naruto. I've watched like hundreds of episodes with my boyfriend. So Naruto Shippuden would probably get the most viewed. For real life stuff, I binge watched The Queen's Gambit. It was amazing, super inspiring.
So good. I just
Yeah.
been watching it too.
Oh,
Oh my God.
so
The clothes were like,
good.
so great. Do you listen to podcasts? Do you have a favorite podcast?
I do 10% Happier by Dan Harris. I swear by it. It's been my favorite podcast for a long time.
Cool. What's it called? 10%. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, 10% Happier. It's a meditation themed podcast. However, he is an amazing interviewer. He's a lifetime journalist who took an adult interest into meditation. And so there's a combination of Buddhist practitioners, secular Buddhists, and also just like really successful people, whether in finance or arts or sports, who have a meditation practice. That's the only common theme. It's really good. Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. And what about a favorite treat?
Favorite treat. I love Nutella on sprouted grain toast.
Ooh.
Oh
Yeah, it's hard to beat Nutella.
yeah, I eat it by the spoon. I love it.
Love it. Love it. Oh, Rachel, I could talk to you forever. I have one last, it's kind of a loaded question, but I have faith. I have faith in you. You can answer it. No problem. We've been kind of talking about the creative path and art, and we've been kind of segueing in and out, but knowing what you know about the transformation, like transformational power of art, what do you wish women to like knew about its magic?
I just think it's really important for people to believe that what they create is worthy, that it,
Mm.
it does not have to meet any standards. It doesn't have to impress anyone but yourself. But there's something really, really empowering and healing in making something for yourself and just being able to look at it and be like, that's what I saw in my mind, or that's how I feel.
So beautifully said. Rachel, Arsenis, how can we support you? What can we do now to follow you and all that good stuff?
You can definitely follow me online. I'm gonna have a lot of new music coming out in 2021, and we have
Yay!
a couple EPs and singles out and some videos. So the easiest way to find me and keep track is you can follow me on YouTube, where I post all of my songs and videos. If you just look up Arsoniste, that's Arsoniste on YouTube. Also, Instagram is my main platform for connecting with people. And then my music's on all streaming services, especially Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play.
Cool. I can't wait for your new stuff. Yay! So exciting. Rachel, thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for talking to us. It's been such an empowering hour. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. This was lovely.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was produced by Tosh Taylor of the Podcast Hub Productions. Find her online at podcasthub.ca.